What's going on? Happy New Year, y'all. Happy 2023. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. I'm so excited for what's going to happen this year. We got some really, really exciting news. We're moving locations. We got a brand new spot in Harlem. Probably going to move in March 1st. But I'm so excited. The staff, the kids that deserve this wonderful space we're about to move into. But we got to get back to no matter what, we're building community. So let's fight the guest on.
Hi, Gary. Hey.
Hello.
Good. Yes.
How you
It's good to
doing?
see you too.
It's
I'm
good to see
trying
your
to
face.
adjust myself.
Yes.
Congratulations on your new space.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much. I know we were really excited. I saw it
Oh,
for the first time today,
that's
and I was
exciting.
blown
Yes.
away. It's
Yes.
amazing. So it's good.
I'm
Yeah,
in
it's really good.
Brooklyn, but I'm
Now,
not
now, what
attached.
borough are
I go
you, Beth?
places.
Where
I
are
go
you?
to Harlem.
Brooklyn.
I love Brooklyn. I'm not talking
Okay.
against Brooklyn. Let me say Brooklyn in the house.
Of
I
course,
like to
you
say
got to
that
come
wherever I
uptown.
go. You
No,
all
no.
have to deal with it. Brooklyn represents, yes.
No,
You
no,
know.
that's great. No, there's nothing wrong with that. No. Well, thank you for coming on. No matter what, we're gonna build community. And Beth, when I was reading your bio, it was interesting. I never heard of
Mhm.
the title that you've had. Of course, I know you're a photographer, but the other thing that you do as well. So just a little bit. I mean, photography. How'd you get into that? You kind
Oh,
of your
well,
one thing
I
that you
like
do. How'd you get
people.
into photography, Beth?
So that's how I became, yes, I'm a professional photographer. So, yes, let me
Okay.
just introduce can I just take a moment and pause and just invite a couple people to join our live? Yes, yes, let me do that right now.
Sure, of course you can.
So wait, no, I gotta invite some people. I'm so used to being on the other end. I'm so used to being like where you are interviewing people. Yes, all right. So yes, so for people who don't know me in your audience, my name is Beth Brown, and I am a professional photographer. And I started back a long time ago before I was even a photographer. My dad had subscriptions to National Geographic. Hey, Boo, thank you for joining. Yes, so my dad had these subscriptions to National Geographic, and I just loved it because I was never really looking to say how did they actually
Mm,
take the picture, but more like how did the photographer meet the people and the travel aspect and just like it's National Geographic, so all sorts of different cultures are explored, and there's the
mm,
interview about that area or that group of people and or the situation, right? It could be a cultural event or change, and I was just fascinated by it. And then I got a point and shoot camera when I was in fourth grade from my dad's aunt, so my great aunt, and I was just like
mm.
with it, even without film. And it eventually, as a professional
Yeah,
photographer, was a
yeah.
need. I was meeting a financial need. That's why I actually started shooting for professional.
There you go. Okay. All right. No, that's cool. But I wanted to know, one of your passions. But then your other thing that you do
Yes.
is when I was reading is the Christian coach, confidence coach. What
How
what
did
what
I?
what what is, what
Oh,
is that, and how'd you fall
yeah.
into that?
Well, that's a
From being a
story.
photographer, how'd you get into
So
that? Yeah,
I went
yeah.
through a pretty uh, not so good traumatic event. And for the longest time, I didn't want to talk about it. So it was
Mm, mm,
2016, and it was after ending a
mm,
situationship, we'll say, that word, with someone, and he wasn't happy about it. It had nothing to do with losing me. It had to
mm.
do, I believe, with losing control. And so it resulted in rape. And then I tried getting to know someone after that because, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And the best way to get over pain and forget something unpleasant is to try to just jump into
Mm.
something new. Yeah, it's a terrible idea. Don't try it. But I I know I'm not the only one. I know that I'm not the only one who's ever had a traumatic experience and then just tried to push through it and move on and go to the next thing and like forget. And then the Christian part of it, well, you know, things are not always, haven't always been taught properly, things like forgive and forget. And so you're thinking you actually have to forget, but we never do forget. And especially if the trauma is physical, that trauma actually lives in our bodies. You know, we carry that in our muscle memory and everything. And so there is no forgetting it. And if someone loses their child to, say, gun violence, you're never going to forget you had a child. You're never going to forget how that child died, right? Just like I'm never going to forget what someone did to my body, right? So what's next, right? You can either just keep going and end up in a really big mess, which is what I did with like total wrecked self-esteem, or you can take time out and heal. Which do you want? And so I want to help people heal, you know?
Yeah. No, that's such an important piece. Healing is really important piece. I mean, I think, you know, allows you to kind of, I wouldn't say move, it allows you to move on or be at peace in a very different way. And so, I mean, why is healing
Why
so
is it
important to you?
to
I
me?
mean, why is it important
Without
to you?
and I'm going to speak specifically about forgiveness because that was like my biggest pitfall in my healing. And it wasn't so much about forgiving the person who raped me because it wasn't like I really cared about him. The more closely we love someone, the more we care about someone or something when it hurts us, the more angry we are. So the person who came next that, you know, I loved and who it just didn't work out and he was like, I don't want you. And I'm thinking, why am I so offended? I don't even want to be with myself right now. But whatever, it hurt. And I was furious. And I was devastated. And so that anger, that unforgiveness led me to really dark places. My hair at one point was falling out. So it affected my health. So I can't remember the exact year. It doesn't matter the exact year. But when I was 19, I was diagnosed with an overactive thyroid. And my endocrinologist had gotten it stable. But because I was so stressed, so angry, it just absolutely threw my body out of whack. And so I went and she did my blood work and she's like, your blood work is off the charts. What happened? Why is your thyroid all of a sudden like sky high overreacting? Because for years it had been stable. And I didn't tell her why. I was like, oh no. But, you know, that triggered, it caused health problems. And how many people your organization, Friends of New York, right, serves predominantly Black and Brown communities, in my understanding, although you work with all cultural backgrounds. But how many people in the Black and Brown community have health issues because of trauma and undealt with, unhealed trauma? So that, it affected my business. It affected my money. Do we want to be like earning less money? Because now someone may be like, whatever, I made $500,000. I made $1 million last year. But maybe you could have made 2 or 3 if you were healed and making healed decisions in your business and being open to people. I was curious because someone actually literally was talking to me yesterday about it. And they said, how does forgiveness and how does healing go with money? And I was like, well, I think it goes together. And I looked, I was like, let me calculate it. And I looked at my earnings from 2018, which was when I was like really rock bottom. Like I was saying, God, you could take me out. I don't really want to be here anymore. And then I looked at my earnings from 2019, which is when I started being open and started really genuinely forgiving. And my earnings were going up. And guess what? In 2020, okay, the world shut down, right? My business, I was not doing this as full-time. I had a full-time job at that time, non-full-time entrepreneur. But at that time, it was, you know, just part-time, just like side hustle. My business in 2020 doubled, actually a little bit more than 2x from 2018 during a pandemic. Why? because I had healed, and in 2021 it pretty much stayed the same, and then but it affects our money, it affects our health, it affects our stress. Can we afford to be going around stressed out? Who wants to live life like that? And it affects our relationships. And that's why my business was dying, literally dying, because my relationships, I didn't want to go out. And when I did go out, I was just ashamed of like everything. When I did go out, I wasn't really being open. I wasn't really, you and I had met in 2018, 2019, even beginning. We wouldn't be chatting like this. Yeah. So it affects literally all areas of our life. That's why it's so important.
No, okay. So you're a coach, and so what are some things? How do you help people heal?
Yeah.
How do you take them through that process? What are some things that you do?
Aspect of my coaching business. I have a journal on it, a 20-day forgiveness journal that I had someone tell me, like the first cohort. I have a hard time saying that word for some reason. Who did that journal with me? They were like the trial group before I published it, and they like did the group coaching and everything with me. He was like, "This was better than 5 years of therapy." I was like, "Wait, 20 days is better than 5 years of therapy?" It's deep. Like you will get. Now everyone's going to get different results, right? Maybe someone's never been to therapy, so they have no. And it depends on how much you really choose to forgive.
Yeah.
You want to choose to forgive a little bit. You want to choose to forgive all the way, right? It's up to you. Everyone's result is different. But like 20 days is more impactful than 5 years of therapy. That's a powerful thing. So a lot of it is through forgiving and redefining our identity. And to do that, we have to look back at our definitions. How do I define success? How do you define success? How do you define love? When we have gone through trauma, our love definition is going to be different, right? Love is a currency. Money is a currency, but how do you spend love? Are you stingy with it? Are you stingy with it to yourself? Like, no one's talking about love as a currency, but it is. And so how you spend it and redefining what that definition is. What does that look like? And I do it from a Christian perspective because my opinion, my experience, my belief is that God's word is eternal and it's not going to change. The message society is giving us today is different than it was 50 years ago. It's different than it's going to be 50 years from now. It's always going to change. What's beautiful, like even redefining beauty, especially if you've gone through a physical trauma or even racism, right? Racism is trauma in the sense that you might not feel beautiful about your hair, your skin, whatever it is, the shape of your features. Things might not, you might have to redefine that. And not even based on culture, but based on what does God say about who I am, my beauty. Am I worthy of love? Because when we take culture out, when we take family, what our friends said, what schools say, schools might have us thinking we're stupid. So that's what I love about Friends in New York, because I looked you up and you help children and families write new life stories. So you're helping children heal. And I looked at your results. You guys have amazing results because one, you're working long-term with people, but you're not keeping them in the past. You're writing new stories. And a lot of times people want a better past. We can never change the past. We can't ever get a better past. But like and like you do with Friends in New York, you're writing new stories that these kids can then go on and do whatever they want to do. Go to college, start a business, start their families, like totally break financial and family and generational patterns, right? Because you're writing these stories. And that's like a lot of when we redefine our identity, when I work with people, I'm really helping them map out like mindset transformation, heart transformation, and actual physical life transformation. Like, how do you map this out? How do you get from where you are here and get to where you want to be? So let's map it out.
Yeah. This is so important. I've definitely had my experiences, and I took time in my life that I had to heal, and I stumbled, and at a certain point, I was just like, I realized it's like, who do I want to be? And it's like, it's up to me. I can decide what I want to be. I don't have to be what I was in the past. I can today. I can going forward. I can decide what I want to be. So to have somebody help somebody through that process, because I wish I would have had you when I was
Yeah,
going through my process.
I,
Because it took
yeah.
me years to do it. It probably would have took me half the time to do that. So yeah, so one thing I
Yes.
found difficult, more difficult than forgiving other people, is forgiving myself on some of that
Well,
things.
it,
And so
it
how do
has
you
to
help
do
people
with
forgive
redefining the identity and
themselves so
changing the
they can heal?
perspective. So it how I see myself is through my own eyes.
Mm,
I see myself through my failures, and I see myself through what I did
mm,
wrong. And the reason why I
mm,
do forgiveness through God and as the Christian perspective is because God is above it all. God is, his perspective is from the beginning of time until like the time we won't even exist, whenever time on this planet no longer, like, I don't know when that will be, but he
mm,
sees it all, and he sees our
mm,
beginning and he sees our end. And it also says
mm,
that even before in the, unless I look it up in, I'm not the best with numbers. I'm working on getting better. So unless I look it up in advance, I can't give you the exact verse. But it says that God, before we were formed in our mother's womb, before the earth even existed, he had made a plan for you. He'd made a plan for me. He'd made a plan for Schneidine. He made a plan for Rashida. He made, I see Rashida on here. That's why I'm calling out her name. He made a plan for Mr. Goodhart, who I see on here. He made a
mm, mm,
plan for, who else do I see on here? Trina Briel. I apologize if I'm saying your name wrong. For Coach Tanisha, right? He
mm,
made plans for each one of us, and he knows exactly how he wanted it to go. And he sees us from that, and he sees us from a perspective of love. So when we switch our point of view and we start to see ourselves from a different perspective, it shifts how we think about ourselves and how we think about others. And so actually that's something that a lot of
mm,
people told me about the
mm,
20-day forgiveness journal that I wrote. I had someone say, literally, I thought that this was going to help me forgive other people, but what it's really helping me to see is I actually have to forgive myself. My lack of forgiving myself was like what I thought was keeping me
mm,
safe, but it wasn't. Like, that's pretty much not her exact words, but that's what she was saying. But you have to do
mm,
it. And sometimes it's not just about mindset, because like I said, trauma can be held in our body. So it's not all like
mm,
that anxiety.
mm,
It's just, you can't just talk yourself
mm,
out of it. Sometimes you have to like physically work yourself out of it. So when I work with people, I have an art background. I'm a photographer. I use art in my coaching. I use in the forgiveness journal. I use physical activities. I use music. I use obviously journaling because it's a journal, but different ways, because healing, I think a lot of times people are
yeah,
like, well, I
yeah.
just go to the therapist, or I just go in a journal and just write it. But it's more than just mindset. It's like a whole, it's like literally mind, body, spirit.
Mm.
Like we're three parts. We have to heal all three parts. So if that answers your
Mm.
question.
No, that's good. No, it does. No, it does. And so, and I know a lot of people are busy, and and sometimes people say, I don't have time for therapy, or or some people feel like they don't have time to heal, to go through that whole process, because maybe they're just trying to survive, get through the next,
Can you
one
afford
day to the
not to?
next day. What do you say to those
Sometimes
people?
we do have to, for a moment, just function. Like something
Mm,
majorly life shifting can happen. And for like a month, maybe even for a year, you're just like in functioning mode. And it's okay that you're not okay and you're just kind of just trying to go through the motions. It's not a life plan. At some point you have to do it.
mm,
And it might
mm,
not be as much time as you think, right? Like my journal was 20 days. So I had people who did
mm,
my journal for
mm,
20 days, met with me once a week, and the result was this was better than 5 years of therapy. So sometimes it's not even as much as people think it might have to be. Now, it depends really on what the trauma is. Like people
mm,
have gone through like
mm,
really horrific things, like genocide. Probably you're not going to get through it in 20 days. you know, if you were a survivor of genocide, or you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It could
Yeah.
take longer.
Yeah.
Everyone's time frame is going to be different, but can you afford not to? Knowing that it affects your health. Like when I was not healing, my blood work was all over the place. My hair was falling out. Like my business was dying. My friendships are better now. Like, can you afford not to? Do you want to not? What do you want? And you have to decide. We have the choice.
No, that's good. So what, if people want to get a hold of you, how can they get a hold of you? If they want to be
Yes,
coached
so
by you,
they
to
can
be coached to help themselves
DM me,
heal, how do
just
they get a
right
hold
through
of you?
Instagram at Babs Photography LLC. They can also go to my website, which has more information, and that's levelupwithbeth.com, because I'm helping people level up their professional image, right, through photography, and helping them level up their lives through the coaching. So levelupwithbeth.com can be there, or you can email me at light@levelupwithbeth.com. But even in my bio on Instagram at Babs Photography LLC, in my bio, you can click on it and it will take you right to my website. And the first thing will pop up is the forgiveness journal. You can also click on the email button. There's, the little email button, and it will just take you directly to send me an email. So.
Got it. All right, and Beth, this is my last question. My last question is my no matter what question. So no matter what, if somebody wants to heal, what should they do? No matter what. I know
They have to
they need a
forgive.
coach, and they should definitely work with you.
Unavoidable.
But no matter what else should they do?
People have a lot of misunderstanding about it, and I do want to say this: forgiveness does not mean you don't get justice, and I think that's something that holds people back. If I forgive, I'm not going to get justice. The two things are totally different. I think South Africa has done some really good work with that, getting justice for apartheid, but also forgiving and moving on. So it's possible. Rwanda's also done some really good work, right, with getting justice and healing. So it doesn't mean that they're separate. I'm sorry, it doesn't mean that they go together. They're separate. They're two separate things.
Sounds good.
So you have to forgive. And from a Christian perspective, it's so important. That's literally what Christianity is based on. And it literally says that if we don't forgive, God does not hear our prayers. And we have prayers. We want things done for us. And, we want to be blessed. And God's not going to listen to my prayer for blessings because I refuse to forgive someone while he forgave me. It's a non-negotiable. No matter what, we have to forgive. Yeah. So, yeah.
Beth, thank you so much for taking time with us this evening. We appreciate you. Yeah. And you got to come up and see the new space too. You got to come on up. Yeah.
I would love to support. Yes. Let me know. Send me flyers. I'll help promote. I'll share for you guys.
All right.
So yes, keep me in the loop. Thank you. Yes. Take care.
Thank you so much. All right. Well, have a good evening.